Hi there, and welcome to the third episode of my tutorial series for Kingdoms Reborn. I'm Icon, and today we will survive yet another winter and get our little town into the possession of some luxury goods. So we are right now quite low on wood. We're facing winter without no fuel whatsoever. So probably this time I'm going to go for another snatch card. And next season I will try to buy myself some wood. Because, why not? The people overall will be forgiving me. I'm snatching 0. They're broke. Oh, okay. So that can happen too. Just experimenting with this card a little bit myself because I wasn't using these too often in the past. So here we go. New cards are on our hand, and I want to see if I can't buy myself some wood. So we're going to spend half of our money for 300 wood. This is, 300 gold for 50 wood. This is not really much, but it is oh so necessary that we're going to do it nevertheless. So again, I do expect to lose a few people in this winter. Mainly because I know that we will have a very hard time in sustaining our fuel sources for the total amount in the winter. I personally don't care too much if sometimes people die in winter. I keep thinking of like that. It's the Dark Ages after all, and back in those days, not everybody made it over in winter. Yes, that might be a little bit cruel, but with that mindset, it's way easier to get past these difficult early times. Maybe we will be fine, though. Who knows? So with the trade port available now, we have now not only access to sales, but also we can now buy stuff. That's the really interesting part about all this. So when we're buying things, the fee gets applied against us, yet again. And we're now also able to sell off materials. So you see the quantity here of this trade has a maximum amount of 240, which is way more than the stuff before. We would be now able to buy all manner of different things, but for now I'll leave it with a few units of wood here. I want to show you something about the trade in general. So, oh yeah, we unlocked the upgrades tree too. Awesome. One thing at a time though, one thing at a time. So, I was busy with the trade. So the thing here is the wood we just bought will be delivered the moment when this circle here is full. So you can't satisfy your needs in a short-term way with these trade buildings. That's not possible. And once this circle is full, we get the opportunity to start a new trade. Keep in mind though, selling stuff yields you the money immediately, unlike buying stuff where you get your rewards afterwards. Okay, so now we have unlocked pottery, and that's awesome because now we have access to our first luxury goods. I'm going to research next the mushroom log sterilization tech, which will decrease the consumption of wood of our mushroom farms even more. So yes, I want to buy the potter and the clay pit. So here we go. These are, again, industrial buildings. And as you see, this is not a river for this for this building. Not every water qualifies as a river. That's what I'm trying to say. So we're going to look for a good spot here. And as we see here, our housing will be a little bit unhappy about the pottery there. So about the clay pit there. If I had already access to this province here, this would be not too much of a problem. But, well, what can we do? I just realized that I did a mistake there. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to research this technology completely. This is something we will do later. We just unlocked the upgrades tree. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to build the pottery and the clay pit. So the upgrades tree is an entirely new tech tree. You feed this tree with the research points you generate as well. So you have to decide if you either go for upgrades or for new technologies. If you check this out, there's a lot of different things. So here we can research productivity of charcoal burners, productivity of quarries. These are mainly upgrades and unlocks. So we can also unlock the farming of wheat here, for example. But what I'm after first is the influence points. This unlocks a new currency, which we can use to claim land. And the faster you research that, the faster you have access to that. Basically, the influence points are a awesome way to avoid the usage of gold for expansion, and that's why I like them so much. So I'm going to pick up a, well, do I go to pick up a new hunting lodge? I actually don't think so. So here I'm going to accept that the houses will be a little bit sad about the presence of the pottery, the clay pit, I mean. Just want to check out. So here the river area ends at some point. Well, this does not mean that this house is well, not compatible for living anymore or anything like that. It only means its appeal is lowered and it will struggle with upgrading higher. I haven't fully understood myself yet how the appeal applies to this game. I gotta be completely honest. Here. Tooltips help. So this influences the occupant's happiness. So all what happens here is that the people will be a little bit less happy about the living spot here. So overall, also try to avoid what I did here, which is not too smart from my side. As you see, I placed down building orders again during the winter, and now people are starting to freeze. But I know that winter is over soon, but in general, as a rule of thumb, try to avoid building projects during the course of winter, because you need that wood, at least in the early game. When you are having either more than enough wood or access to coal, of course, this does not apply anymore. Another thing that I wanted to mention, if you ever have a feeling as if you don't want any more population via the immigration office, you can just unassign the worker here by pressing this button. So sometimes it's actually smart to stop the immigration pool, especially if you don't have the necessary resources anymore to grow any further. This happens, and it's a wise choice to slow down your development under these circumstances. So, but it seems to me as if we are quite well off here. Pottery and clay pit are stocked up with the necessary resources. All it takes now is builder getting the job done. Speaking about getting jobs done, the quarry now is a done thing, and I want to reduce the amount of stone it produces to top 200, because as you see here, storage slots are limited. And the last thing I need is storage slots cram-filled with endless supplies of stone, which I never need. I mean, sure, you can always overproduce something because you want to sell it or general to trade with it, but with materials which are not necessary for a living, like food, I usually do a certain mark at which they are supposed to stop working, because I don't want them to over exceed these numbers. Maybe 200 is a little bit low. Let's go for 300. There's no real rule for that, but I think you get the idea. You need to judge that from your own experiences and your own situation. There's not really a a right solution for every situation, which is always the same. Okay. Also here in your houses, you can designate which kind of fuel they are allowed to use. This can be sometimes quite interesting if you don't want them to use coals or wood for whatever reason that might be. Especially interesting if you are using your coal exclusively for industrial uses. For example, you settled near a tile which has no natural coal resources, and you want to use your coal for smithing, for example, and you don't want your people to use that for heat generation. So this can be really, really important and useful at times. That's all I want to say. So I think the stockpiles that we have here are completely okay. There's enough stockpiles to satisfy the needs of these two buildings, I dare say. So now the clay pit is producing its clay, and the potter will be producing the pottery. From my experience, one unupgraded clay pit exactly fulfills the needs of a potter. So if you want to produce bricks later down the road, you either upgrade that thing with books or more workers, or you need to build another clay pit. So our pig ranch is almost ready now. You can also buy animals if you are really needing it. But we will be producing finest meat here in no time. So we finally have a food overproduction, which is a real boon, because that means we are now able to earn money and expand in the proper way and start thinking less about surviving and thinking more about prosperity. So I'm also going to sell away some of these stones because, they get reproduced. There's basically an almost infinite supply. We have 24,000 stones in this region, so no problem at all. What we do need, though, is housing soon again. Our population is rising steadily, which is a good thing. And look at that. They are producing their first... Here, work done. They're now on their first batch. This is a very, very exciting moment. Because once these first units of pottery get into our town, something magical will happen. Before that will happen, though, the influence points will be unlocked, which is also going to be very cool. So now we have that finished, and what happened here, the influence points have popped up now. So we gain 44 influence. As you see, we gain influence by the town hall, by population, and we get to pay influence for territories. So the more territory we got, the slower influence will grow. And yeah. So here we go. We have our first tier 1 luxuries. That's a very, very awesome moment. So let's wait until the first workers arrive to pick up these pieces of pottery, and then they will get spread through the town. Okay. The introduction of influence points is a really, really massive bonus, because as you see here, you only need half the amount of influence compared to gold. And therefore, from this point on, usually I only use gold for expansions if the expansion is really important, like pressing matter. I need resources from somewhere because I did bad planning or something like that. But any other expansion can now wait until there's enough influence allocated. And that really makes it a lot easier to expand your settlements in general. I don't want to destroy the boar burrow here for now, but at the same time, I do realize that we need more housing. So how about that? You see here the appeal gets displayed above the costs, and this area here has a lower appeal because nobody really likes to live right next to the quarry. But you know what? Life's tough. Get over it. Sometimes you can't put the people's happiness above everything else. And look at that, the first level 2 house. It's actually not as Neolithic anymore, and it looks like a more cozy place. The larger houses, let's compare them directly to each other. Most obviously, the incomes increase tremendously. There's going to be more differences in the future, but for now, it's worth knowing that these houses also these houses also consume their luxuries at some point. Okay, so finally, let's get past a few things. So I want to research new things now because we are at a good spot. I have changed my plans. The mushroom log sterilization is not that interesting anymore. I want to go towards beer brewing. And after the beer brewing, it's time to research the tools because we definitely need to keep up with our tool needs. Also, our supplies of medicine are plummeting tremendously fast, so it's about time to put up farms for medicinal herbs. When we put up farms, the fertility overlay tells you where you where you would want to work. So, but don't overestimate the colors too much. As you see here, this bright yellow is still a 70% fertility, so it's not horrible at all. It's actually quite okay. So we're going to put up a farm here. The real nasty thing about farms in this game is that you can only select their size when you place them down. You can't change them afterwards anymore, and they can only be rectangular in shape. So there's a couple of things which are a little bit finicky about placing down farms in this game, but I've learned to accept these. So we're going to place down now medicinal herb farms wherever we can. And as you see here, I'm also doing several small farms here, but be careful with that. Every little farm spot you create here will need ultimately farmers working there. So if you put up too many small spots, you will put a high strain on your workership. That's all I want to say here. So also we seem to have yet another severe lack of wood. So to change something about that, I'm actually going to claim this province now with money because, you know, I want that. I also want access to coals, so this is the next logical decision for me. Okay, because now I have a big forest that my laborers can just chop down and satisfy the needs of our town. As we see here, the foresters do their best to reforest that. I'm pretty sure that these two buildings here are the first that I will be relocating, because as you see here, the forester now, this one, he's mainly working in areas that are already seeing a pretty dense construction, pretty high construction density. That's what I wanted to say. So we got a new card price. As you see, these are always a reward for higher populations. And I'm going to stick with these sustainability books. I'm a big fan of those. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of other really appealing things that you could go for, but I personally like them a lot. So we're going to place down the coal mine here, and I'm placing it down pretty far away from everything else due to the reason that I don't want it to pollute my city core here, because this is a very, very unattractive building, and if it's too close to my houses, it's going to make people unhappy. Control T yet again to turn on and off the display of trees, and we're also going to put down one unit of housing. I don't mind the unattractive houses here, at least as there are not too many. I like to differentiate between the city's core, which is going to be beautiful, and a housing area where we try to have a tavern in the vicinity, speaking about which I totally forgot to place down the tavern. And areas where I have housing, but that's more a means to an end, like having the housing to make sure that there's workers to facilitate the coal farm, the coal mine. You always have to balance things out a bit, but you will never have a really industrial productive town center, because that's not what happens in reality either. So you shouldn't be too worried about that. So I'm going to pick up what exactly? I'm not really that needy in any way right now. We do have a pretty stable situation. Our food production is really over exceeding our needs very much, which is absolutely great. That's exactly where I want it to be in the long run. So we're going to place down the forester here to have him cover up a really nice, huge area here where people can then get their lumber. Oh, I thought that would work. Okay, never mind. Here we go. I'm gonna put roads in 2 directions here. Here we go. Let's put it down another housing here, just to make sure that we have what we need in this area. So I'm going to buy another fruit gatherer here to place him down right next to the forester, because I always feel like they go well hand in hand. So as you see here, even this forester here, this fruit gatherer here, has some yields from that little area there, so kind of like always worth it. Oh, I miss a fruit gatherer for this area here, I just noticed. Okay, let's pick up one more. At the end of the day, I really like to overproduce food because of the sell food card, which always allows you to transform these huge stockpiles just directly into money. And at the same time, it gives you that wonderful safety because food doesn't spoil in this game. I don't know if this will stay forever like that. I highly doubt it, honestly, or at least I hope it won't be, because this makes things a little bit easy to manage. But, well, don't want to mutter too much about that. So our next expansion will be this area. So I have made my decision. I'm going to put down my iron ore production over here. This will make the blacksmithing process in this town a little bit tricky, though, because the iron ore will be needs to be transported over here, and the coal. So basically, I think the best idea that crosses my mind right now will be to bring the blacksmithing area over here. Let's see. There's a couple of things which I always struggle to decide until the very least moment. I don't like to overplan things, but I think that's a question of strategy or playstyle. So we have now the beer brewing, and like I said, I want to research the tool technology right away. And our medicine stockpiles are decreasing ever more and more. The farms didn't see any work this year, out of a simple reason, because we finished them way too late this year, so there was no time left for them to produce anything. But I definitely want to have more of those, so I want to buy one brewery, and we're going to put up another farm for healing roots, or medicinal herbs here. We're not healing roots, we're not playing RimWorld. So, and I don't hesitate to cut away those trees just like I need them, because the forester will ultimately reforestate these areas, so there's no need to be shy there. So I'm going to bring a sell food card. So see, the problem with this card is it costs you 90 gold per to begin with. So if you don't have enough food to use this card even is very inefficient. I like that. I actually do like that. So we're going to place down the brewery over here. And as you see here again, the brewery is a building which is bad for the appeal of these buildings. But, well, the overall happiness is influencing the overall work speed of people. So if you want to maximize the production of your town, you will want to avoid things, which I did here. I'd say for a beginner, it's totally okay to just do it like I do here. But if you are playing on higher difficulties or plan to play on higher difficulties, it's really, really important that you start to keep that happiness in your town as high as possible, because higher difficulties mean higher consumptions and therefore running out of things faster. So that's why optimizing these processes is way more important when you play on higher difficulties. Okay, so here, this time I'm going to spend all that money that I'm earning into a few units of medicine, just to make sure that we will be transitioning from one age to, or from one medicine supply to another quite well. So overall, I noticed that my fertility in this area is rather meh. I mean, there's nowhere a high fertility area to be seen. These are all, well, okay, here at the riverbanks we have some, but maybe you need to use all these areas for agriculture sooner or later. That's the beauty of this game too, because no two runs are exactly the same, in a way that you will always have different problems and needs in your vicinity, judging from where you founded your town. Really feel like the game's already doing a pretty good job on that end. And as you see here, we're also seeing more and more quests that pop up, and whenever you finish one of those quests, you will unlock a new feature for which will basically improve the industry the quest was related to. Problem here is our town hall has limited slots, so we will run out of slots eventually, but one thing at a time. Okay, so now we have the forester in this area here working. Isn't it beautiful? It's a perfect catch of that area. Happy with that. And this will also be the last season where we will have big problems with fuel, I guess. For the coal, I will set a production target of 500. I'll keep that higher than the other production targets out of the simple reason that coal is going to be my go-to fuel and also going to be my material to work with blacksmithing in the future, so we should probably take it serious. I'm also going to block the immigration office for now, because my town has 21 unemployed people right now that are not needed in any industry right now. It's not really a good idea to have so much such an abundance of population which has no real job in your town except for living there, unless you can really afford it. But since I don't have any production of medicine in a larger scale yet, and no production of tools in a larger scale yet, I feel a little bit insecure if it's a smart idea to expand like crazy. Always keep in mind that whenever you expand, the needs of your people rise as well. And as here we now see, that's what I wanted to show you. Wait a sec. Stone Tools Shop. We buy that. Thank you. And as you see here now, each one of these farms needs a worker. So if you do too many micro farms, this will deplete your worker pool quite quickly. That's what I wanted to showcase in the moment before. Okay, but I'd say we are in a good on a good way here. We're overproducing food like crazy, so I'm going to sell away half of the city's food. Look at that money! So we're now going to be really rich for a while, and let's check out the tech tree. We are now able to research the Middle Age. How did that come? That's all because of a spreading of pottery across our town. So the beer brewery is now ready, and as I mentioned before, we will work with the mushrooms we have. So mushrooms and breweries go really, really well together, and we're performing great here. So I will go for the research of the Middle Age right away, because I feel like that's something we might want to see next. And yeah, I think that's a good spot to end today's episode, because I feel like we achieved a lot, and I think next episode is going to be about the transition between ages, if we get to the point that we can research the Middle Age. But if you check this out, we're really pumping out that research better. And the house luxury is also providing extra research points, as you see here. Okay, next episode will be about transition between ages, and we're also going to talk about building upgrades for the first time for real, because I was kind of skipping out on that topic a tad bit, but I personally don't mind about that at all. Oh, there's one thing that I want to put up here, and that's the stone work, the stone workshop. Oh, where will we put that up? I'd love to have that in the vicinity of the quarry in some way, but easier said than done. So I don't want to lower the appeal of these houses. Yeah, but lowering the appeal of that house seems to be okay. But the question remains, can we put down a road here? No, I can't. So, oh, I built myself up into a corner there. So we're going to do that in the next episode. This is going to be a little bit too. Sorry for the rambling, friends. I'll be done in a second. Yes, we'll put it down like that. Because, you know, please understand my stubbornness. I wanted to get the medicine and tools topic covered today. So with these with this building, we will be no longer relying on the steel tools, and with these fields we will be hopefully producing enough medicine for the entire town. Not sure if that's going to work. Okay, guys, so thanks for watching. We made our town produce our own luxuries, tools, and medicines. Now the town will for real grow and go into a new age of prosperity. Next episode, we will transition the first time between ages and start to focus more into the options of building upgrades. And I'm going to talk about what I personally think, what you could do with them, and what they are good for, and all those things. So drop your comments down below. I'd be really happy to hear from you. If there's any question, ask away. Of course, a thumbs up on that video would be deeply appreciated, because it helps to make these more visible. And of course, check out my channel, drop a subscription, turn on those notifications, and you won't miss any of my daily content anymore. In the description down there, you also find my Twitch profile. Daily streams happening there, so you might want to check that out too. I'd be more than delighted if you did. Have a nice day, and I hope you're having some good fun today. See you soon. Bye-bye.